Today I've got a real special guest joining me for another episode of Fireside Chats, and I'm real excited for you to be here, Nick.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So we're filming this. It is 11 o'clock on a Friday. What time is your tea time today?
8 a.m. tomorrow.
Okay, all right. So we got plenty of time. I just didn't know if we had to rush
Not
through
today.
things or not. So we're good. So how long have you been playing golf?
I remember I used to play baseball, Little League baseball. My best friend was on the other team. He struck me out on like the 9th inning, and I was pretty upset. And then he came over to me. He's like, "Hey, baseball is not fun. Why don't you come play golf with me tomorrow?" And so then 6th grade, played golf for the first time, fell in love with the game. So I'll credit my buddy for bringing me out to the course. So yeah, I've been playing since I was in 6th grade.
Do you make your own golf clubs?
I like to tinker. My wife probably argues that I have too many hobbies, but I'm a tinkerer. I like to try different clubs, put on different heads. In the winter, there's no golf to be played, so I gotta, stay in the hobby somehow. So I like to tinker with clubs and different adjustments in the garage. Yeah, in the winter.
Mentioned it real briefly, but making golf tools.
Yeah. It all started like when Elle and I first got married. She wanted to buy this really nice kitchen table, and I said I can build that table for like a third of the cost. So I built a dining room table, and then I built another dining room table, and you start to work with your hands in the garage and do work with tools. I enjoy making things. So like I said, my wife probably thinks I have too many hobbies, but I like to work with my hands and build things in the garage.
What? Tell me more about these golf tools.
These golf tools.
Yeah.
So when you hit a ball into the green, that ball will leave an impression in the green called the divot. And if you don't fix that divot, then it kills the grass. So most guys take a golf tee to kind of prop up the grass and tap it down and fix it. Well, I make more decorative, some exotic woods and metals in those divot tools to create a more fun looking divot tool to fix the greens.
And obviously you guys live here, Fargo, but tell everybody where you grew up.
Grew up Fergus Falls, Minnesota, just an hour southeast of here. Grew up playing sports. My dad was a high school football coach in town, so grew up on the sidelines, watching him coach. You always kind of dream of playing for your dad someday. So elementary school, basketball, football, golf, soccer, and then in high school played football, basketball, golf, and got to play football for my dad, so that was pretty special. But yeah, typical Minnesota summers, spend time on the water and hanging out with friends and family.
And you, besides hanging out in the water, you worked in the water quite a bit.
Worked in the water, yeah. First big job I had, or official job I had in high school, was putting docks and lifts in the water. Backbreaking work, actually, to pick up those boat lifts and put them in. Now they got these boats with hydraulic forklifts that you can just pick them up and put them on shore. But back in my day, You had to pick it up and move it into the water and pick it up and move it out of the water by hand. So I had on our team, we had an offensive lineman for the NDSU Bison and an offensive lineman for the Minnesota Gophers. So it's nice to have some horsepower when you're moving that heavy equipment.
Off-season lifting program.
Yeah. We'd put some docks in the water, lifts, and then we'd go to the weight room and work out after that.
Do more lifting.
More lifting.
And that helped you understand like the geography, land of 1,000 lakes. How many lakes do you think you dip your toes in?
Well, it's funny because we've had a couple patients. We learn about our patients in the clinic, and it says has a lake place on Crystal Lake and or Lida or Pelican. And just recently there was a patient who made a comment about his lake place. I said, "Oh yeah, where on this lake do you live?" And he gave me the road, and I said, "Is it by chance this little blue cabin at the end of the road?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I think I put your dock in the water 6 years ago. Did you buy it from?" And sure enough, I've met more than one patient in which I did install their dock or lift about 10 years ago now.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And most time when patients say, "Oh, I live on this lake." "Oh, where?" "Oh, this side of the lake." "Well, no, what road?" It's like, when you're on the water all day, every day, you learn all the roads around these lakes. So it's actually able to connect with a lot of patients because a lot of patients have lake places and fun to talk about.
Yeah. And then, so Fergus Falls High School. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fergus Falls High School, Otters.
Yep. And then graduate. Then what?
Then 2 years at Jamestown as a Jimmy. And then, grew up kind of watching MIAC football with the St. Thomas and the Bethel and the Concordias. And so transferred to Concordia junior, senior year. I graduated from Concordia 2014.
Nice. And where in that process of college, when did like, hey, I'm interested in eyes or eye care, or like, did someone tell you like, hey, you need to find out what you're going to do for the rest of your life? Or how did becoming an optometrist get into the fold?
Yeah, I think I got my first pair of contact lenses in 6th or 7th grade. Had an eye exam with Dr. Callagher at Lake Region, who's still practicing in Fergus Falls, and thought that was pretty cool that I could go into a doctor appointment and get a quick fix and get a pair of contact lenses and instantly see better.
Did you go, so you were 6th or 7th grader, did you go straight contacts at that time?
Went straight to contacts, yep.
Nice.
Had a pair of glasses, didn't wear them too often. And then the next year, for my annual exam, I think it was actually Dr. Callagher asked, hey, if you'd like to hang out with me someday, shadow me someday, feel free to come on back. So I spent some time with Dr. Callagher and Dave Gosted, who ran the optical there at the time. And then shortly after that, shadowed Dr. Steve Thome in the operating room in Fergus. And ever since, towards the middle school, that kind of piqued my curiosity into eye care and thought optometry might be something I wanted to do. But then you kind of go to high school and you go to college, you don't really think much of it. So it wasn't until after I graduated Concordia 2014, as like some college kids, took a gap year to work for Dr. Casey Bartz and Dr. Stan Andrist here in town at Moorhead Vision Associates as a technician. And I think it was when I worked for them, being fully immersed in, eye care for an entire year after college, is when I realized, like, yeah, this is super cool. This is what I want to do and follow this path.
Were you kicking around like other ideas of like?
I tell people, I think I got lucky because I really thought I wanted to do eye care this whole time, and then got into eye care, and turns out I really enjoy it. So, from start to finish, the eye is a fascinating structure. From, anatomical standpoint, the eye is a very simple structure, but from a physics standpoint, it's a very complex structure at the same time. So, started with eyes and stayed with eyes, and glad I did.
Yeah, it was kind of the same for me too, where I got interested in it, early on, and you try and keep your mind open, or, like you mentioned, when you're in high school and college, you're not really thinking about what do I want to do for a job. You're just kind of enjoying the day, as you should be as a kid. And then at some point, someone's like, well, you kind of need to grow up, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, nothing has been a better presentation of what I want to do. And so your story kind of falls in line with mine. So then you're out of college, or you're, just graduated.
Yep.
And then you're like, all right, I want to go into optometry, or eye care. I'm guessing optometry, that's where you ended up. But what was that process like then of, deciding, like, now what? I've decided what I want to do. How do I, get from A to B?
Mm-hmm. So for optometry school, there's, just like with med school, there's the MCAT, and law school, there's the LSAT, and optometry school, you take the OAT admissions test. And so I really wanted to score well on that, to get into optometry school. So I said I would take a year off after college, use that year to study for the OAT, work for an optometrist, gain some experience. Of course, just like college, like you really say you're going to commit to studying, and then you end up, having fun and going out with friends more often. So that gap year was spent a little bit studying and more time at the lake with friends. But after that year, took the OAT and then applied to a bunch of different optometry schools.
And was there, and where'd you end up?
Ended up in Memphis, Tennessee at Southern College of Optometry.
Timing, but when did you go from, how did you get from Memphis to Fargo?
Back to Fargo.
And where's L at in all of this?
Yeah, so, first year optometry school, I was single at the time. You get to a new city, meet a bunch of new friends. In the beginning, I kind of thought, I got family back home, but, I'm single, and I could stay down in Memphis. And the South was a lot of fun. A lot of my classmates went to Ole Miss or Mississippi State, Arkansas. So like tons of SEC football games to go to. We had a ton of fun going to those games. Um, I met my wife Elle in college, actually, just mutual friend group. And then after optometry school, optometry school is 4 years. You do get a month or two off after your first year. So after my first year of optometry school, came back home, actually put docs in the water again.
Yeah.
And then kind of got met Elle again, and then started dating. And then so Elle and I were actually long distance for 3 years of optometry school. And then, the longer you're kind of in a new town, you have a lot of fun. But around, 3 or 4, I was kind of thinking it might be nice to get back home again. So um, graduated Memphis May 2019 and moved back home and got married 2-3 weeks after that.
Nice.
I think I was at work for like a week or two and then took a honeymoon.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah, made our way back home. My wife's family is still in town. My family's still in Fergus Falls. I got sister in Bismarck, brother here in Moorhead. So our family's in this area, and it's nice to have family around.
Yeah. So tell the journey of how did you land at Vance Thompson Vision?
Yeah. Kind of like college, like towards the end of college, you think, you got to decide what you want to do. Towards the end of optometry school, you start thinking like, okay, I better find a job. I, wasn't aware of Vance Thompson Vision because when I left Fargo in 2015-16, you came to Fargo 2017?
End of 2016.
End of 2016.
So we didn't exist yet up here.
So I left, you arrived. So I was unaware of Vance Thompson Vision. And then 4th year optometry school, one of my good classmates, Nicholas Vu, who's practicing in Texas right now, was sitting on an airplane next to a guy. This would have been 2018, and started chatting with him. Found out, he's in the eye care field. Nick's going to school in Memphis, and then this guy said, "Do you have any classmates that want to return to Fargo, North Dakota?" And my buddy said, "Actually, I do." And turned out to be he was sitting next to Dr. John Berdahl in Sioux Falls, and so Nick gave my phone number to John, who then gave my phone number to you, and you slid into my DMs, and
yeah, basically.
And then we started chatting towards the end of my 4th year, and then went from there.
Yeah. Do you want to tell a story of the first time we met, or do you want me to tell it?
Yeah.
Or do you want to tell your side of it, and then I'll
tell my side of it.
Yeah.
Mike texted me, towards the end of the 4th year, said, "Hey, when you get back to Fargo, let's have coffee." I said, "Sounds good." So I think it was, I don't know, maybe it was like Christmas break. I think I came home before I graduated. And Mike
I forget the time of year.
Yeah, Mike had said, "Let's meet at Beans Coffee Bar."
Shout out Beans.
So I Googled Mike Greenwood. I wanted to know what he looked like. So I could, put a face to the name when I met this guy. So I get there maybe 2-3 minutes early. I look around and I don't see Mike. So I go up and order a coffee. And some guy walks in behind me and he's wearing a hat. So I kind of look and I don't think Mike's there yet. So I order a coffee, sit down. Guy behind me orders a coffee, sits down. So we're both sitting in Beans, waiting for the other one to arrive. I kind of look over. He looks at me. I look at him. He gets up. He walks over. He's like, "So, are you Nate?" And I said, "No, I'm Nick." And Mike kind of starts to walk away. He goes, "Oh yeah, Nick." And I go, "Yep." "Are you Mike?" He goes, "Yep." So I didn't recognize him because he had a hat on. So we got off to a great start.
Yeah, and my recollection of the story was basically identical, except for I think it was you ordered your coffee, turned around and looked at me, and I looked at you and I said, "Are you Nate?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Nope." And I was like, "Nick?" And yeah, so I was just testing like, how smart is this guy? Does he know his own name?
Yeah.
Where is he at? And turns out you did, and I didn't. And so yeah, so we got rid of like all the awkwardness super fast, and found out we had a lot of common ground and enjoyed each other's company, and we're like, "Oh, this is going to work out pretty good." So then you start practice fall of 2019, and we kind of say like, "All right, we know you're ready to see patients and stuff like that, but hang on my hip for a little bit. Let's, we'll kind of learn the lingo together and things like that. New year happens, and then we hit March 2020 and
COVID.
COVID. And you know, tell me about like your first year or so of practice.
Yeah, I mean, I think whether you graduate med school or optometry school or dental school, graduate and you think you kind of know it all and you're ready to practice. And reality is just being in clinic every day is a lot different than like being in the classroom and academics. And so starting practice, it was nice, yeah, to hang out with you, shadow you, be on your hip, talk surgical cases. And, optometrists kind of think one way, and, surgeons just by nature of education think differently. And if you and I are going to be on the same team, at times I need you to think like an optometrist, and mainly I got to think like an ophthalmologist, because we're going to sign a patient up for surgery and they're going to meet you in the OR. So just a little bit of a different mindset in our practice with optometrists and ophthalmologists working together to learn, how each other thinks. Because when you and I are on the same page, then patients obviously get better care. So early on, graduated thinking like an optometrist in academics, and then you start practice, and then you just got to change your way of thinking a little bit to make sure that we're on the same page, and as that patient heads to the OR, they're going to have a successful case.
And so now you've been in practice for
7 years in June.
So how was like your how do you think you've changed or eye care has changed like over these last 7 years? And like there's probably like early phase of your career, you're kind of maybe beginning like maybe at the end of like the first middle part of your or first third of your career, and you're kind of leaning in towards like that middle part of your career.
Yeah, I mean, I think eye care has obviously changed. Changes every year, and we say that all the time. How technology is changing, and there's all these advancements in procedures, and I kind of compare it to like if you look at the iPhone 7 years ago compared to the iPhone now. I mean, like eye care changes and gets better. And so, fortunately at Vance Thompson, when technology is changing, we are often first ones to get our hands on it with the FDA clinical trials we do. But I think the longer I'm in practice, the more comfortable I am sometimes like thinking outside the box on cases, and not always, getting into a robotic mode where if you see this, you diagnose this, you treat it that way. But there's often many different ways to treat something, and many good ways to treat something. But with new devices, new implants, thinking outside the box and trying to help patients the best we can to give them the best visual outcome, whether we're trying to improve vision or restore vision or preserve vision. There's different ways we do it.
Do you still kind of get like that same, Nick of 7 years ago? You're probably seeing like a lot of like, oh my gosh, like I've never seen this before. Like this is crazy. So you still kind of get like that. Wow, this is like awesome.
Yeah, I'm becoming more. The longer you're in practice, the more. Yeah, to answer your question, yes. I mean, it continually is exciting. But also, the longer you're in practice, the more comfortable you are sometimes being uncomfortable with some of these really tough glaucoma cases or really tough corneal cases. Being in Fargo, and even there's 2 big hospitals here, and neither of those hospitals have a corneal specialist, and so some of the toughest cases get sent over to us. And we have a resident on our team, so it's fun to educate them and think through cases together. So there's always surprises that come in through the door. 2 of them today, actually, before I got here. But the more you see, the better you get, and the better doctor you become.
Yeah. And what do you think like the next, what's the next 7 years look like?
We always talk about IOL technology. I think that's going to continue to improve. I think the next breakthrough we're going to have is probably, I still think it's a little ways off. I see eye care changing in the next 5-6 years, just more convenient for patients. Maybe someday being able to do bilateral cataract surgeries. How about you? That's one thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, some of the technology, like not every year something groundbreaking comes
Mm-hmm.
out, but we have these incremental improvements. And like you said, like the IOL technology just keeps getting better and better and better. And the reference to the phone is perfect because like, our phones keep getting like better and better and better. And it's not like, oh man, like it was like going from a flip phone to like the iPhone, but that does happen in certain areas. And so it just kind of keeps getting a little bit better. And yeah, I think convenience and is going to be a big push. Um, in the safety part of things. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much that we don't know, that we think we do, and we're just like, well, we just do it this way because that's how it's been. And
Yep.
then when you look back at it, you're like, I can't believe we did it that way. Like that's like so bizarre. It was so complex. It was so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And just even right now, like going from epi off to epi on cross-linking, like that's a pretty major shift from a patient perspective. On our end, it's not a crazy shift in what we're doing, but on the patient side, like it's a whirlwind. Um, and I think there's people are working on stuff that we just maybe aren't even aware of, or
Yep.
you never know, like when that intersection of timing and opportunity is going to meet with it. So yeah, I think so too. And then we touched on family life a little bit, but you got Elle, and
Mm-hmm.
then your kids.
Yep. Got 2 daughters at home. I got Parker, who's 5, and Peyton, who is 2, will be 3 in June. So, yeah, they keep life exciting.
Yeah,
And we got 2 really good girls at home, and a mom who does a great job
yeah, and it'll be super sweet to see how they change over the
every
next
day.
7 years. That's good. That'd probably be a bigger change than I care, but
Yeah. Yeah.
a good welcome one. We're a couple of
Yes.
years in front of you guys, so I can look into my crystal ball and tell you like, yeah, it's probably going to be like this, but every kid's got their own
Yes,
personalities.
they do.
So, well, I think we covered a lot of it. I guess the one thing we didn't touch on, you've had refractive surgery,
Yep.
and anything you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I had PRK, refractive surgery. What's that? 20. It was in the heat of COVID. Clinic slowed down, so I looked at Mike. I'm like, "You want to do
Yeah.
my eyes now?"
Yeah.
Now was a good time.
Yeah.
Refractive surgery. That would have been 5 years ago. Love it. For me, I wore contacts since 7th grade all the way through optometry school, and for me, I tried every single brand of daily contact lens. But for me, I had to take my contact lenses out at noon just because my eyes felt dry. And then wearing glasses and the microscope, I just don't like the way that works. So had my eyes done 5 years ago. Awesome. I think what I enjoy most about it is like traveling. So like right after this fireside chat, my wife and I are going to head to Minneapolis for a wedding, and I'm not going to pack my contacts or my contact lens case or my solutions.
Yeah.
And it is sweet.
Yeah.
I got new sunglasses, no prescription in them. Don't need the prescription in them. So
Well, hey man, I appreciate you taking time with us. I appreciate you clearing the schedule, putting the golf off for a little bit, and hopefully you got good weather for tea time tomorrow and hit them straight.
appreciate it.
Awesome.
Well, going to Minneapolis for a wedding, not to play golf.
Oh yes, sorry.
There just happens to be a big gap before the wedding.
Yeah,
So we're just gonna sneak in around.
yeah.
Golf.
I mean,
Efficient with my time.
What? Yeah. I mean, what? There's not like what else would you do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right. Thanks for having me.